Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, welcome to another video. This is the first video of 2025, so I hope you guys had an amazing start into the new year. I've actually never done an in-depth Q&A on my channel before, so I thought it would be a good video to start off. Before we start, I just want to say that I'm very sorry for not continuing my Advent of Code series in December. To be honest, I was a bit on the verge of burnout. The last 2 months of 2024 were the highest work pressure and the highest workload that I've ever faced at any job, so it was quite intense. The only thing that compared to it was probably exam season, but imagine the most intense exam season at university stretching out over 2 whole months. That's how it felt. And that's also why I couldn't continue the Advent of Code series, and I'm very sorry about that, and I will definitely try to do better next time. So let's start the Q&A. I have the questions over here. I asked you guys to ask me questions on my Instagram stories. I got a lot of questions about various different topics, so I'll break them down into category, and the video will be bookmarked so that you can look for specific answers that you might be interested in. So yeah, the first category will be career, and again, feel free to use the chapters to navigate between sections of questions that you're interested in. First question is, how long did you have to study for to be in IT? It took me 2 years from the moment I started learning how to code until I got my big tech job offer. I learned how to code at home while I was working full-time as a graduate aerospace engineer. My background is actually mechanical engineering, and I did a master's focused more on thermal engineering and numerical simulation. And then I ended up working in aerospace because my master thesis was on aeroacoustics, and that's a pretty big field in aerospace. I would say that the job itself that I was doing in aerospace, plus the fact that I had a solid foundation in maths and science, it helped me a lot in accelerating the learning process. Okay, next question. Do you think that software development is compromised for junior people? I understand where this question is coming from because of AI, but the short answer is no. I don't think it is compromised. I think that software engineering still is a great career to pursue even today. I just don't think that it will be as easy as it used to be to get a job. Don't get me wrong, obviously the software engineering interviews are not easy at all, they're quite hard, and it is hard to get into a good software engineering company. What I mean by easy is that for a long time it was the case that having a bachelor's degree in computer science from a decent university and then studying lead code, it used to be enough to open the doors for you and to get you in a junior role or to get you an internship. And that is honestly not the case for many other fields in STEM and in engineering. Like, you do need to do a bit more to distinguish yourself. And I think that nowadays software engineering is going in that direction too, where you need to put in a bit more effort. And the best way to do that is through internships and experience or through side projects. Next question is, how would you get into a software engineering career in 2025? So I actually made a video about the self-study roadmap that I followed when I was learning how to code, and I will link that video here on the screen in case you want to check it out. No matter how advanced AI becomes, if you want to work in the field, there are always fundamentals and the foundations which you need to learn. And because of that, the roadmap really doesn't change that quickly because there are just certain things which you really need to know. However, nowadays, because of the state of the job market, I do think that having a STEM degree is a big advantage for a junior developer. Companies are definitely more conscious of their hiring process and how many people they hire at each time, and it could be that certain companies will give a preference to people with degrees compared to people who are self-taught. Next question, have you ever felt uncertain/confused during your career journey, and how did you manage it? Oh, 1000%. I have felt extremely confused about what I actually wanted to do and what career path to pursue. I mean, just thinking about it, I studied mechanical engineering, and then I started working in aerospace engineering, and then I switched into tech, into software engineering. So I guess the common denominator here is engineering. I really wanted to be an engineer, I just didn't know what kind. I would say that the best way to clear your doubts is to get hands-on experience. And I realize that this is maybe easier said than done, but if you have opportunities, then you should take them and you should really try things out. When I was doing my aerospace graduate program, this consisted of 4 different placements, and I was able to pick 2 of those placements, and I ended up working in a data science team, and this is where I got my first hands-on coding experience, and it was very helpful towards my decision of becoming a software engineer instead of an aerospace engineer. I was also torn between software engineering and data science, to be honest, but I ended up going for software engineering because I just had more fun doing that compared to data science. So I was able to experience what it is like to code for a living and to do this on a day-to-day basis before I even got a software engineering role. So that was very valuable to me. Next question. Did you have to sacrifice some parts of your life to get to where you are now? Yes. Yes, absolutely. After I got my master's, I worked in Berlin for a couple of years, and during this time is when I learned to code. And I have no friends from Berlin whatsoever. There's no one I talk to from that time of my life. I just prioritized learning and studying in my career, and I didn't really develop any meaningful friendships with the people that were around me because I was very focused on my own path and I wasn't prioritizing my social life. Even with building my YouTube channel, you know, I have to do a lot of filming and a lot of stuff on the weekends, and that always prevents me also from making plans with other people. It does impact your social life and your free time and your hobbies, but you need to make a conscious decision at this stage of your life. What is it that you want to achieve? What is it that you want to prioritize? And then stick to it. And keep in mind that that is exactly what it is, a phase of your life. It's not your whole life. Make a temporary sacrifice to achieve something which will give you much more in return in the future. These choices obviously compound over time and they have a certain effect over time, whether it's financially or with regards to your mental health or quality time that you later on get to spend with your family. All of this kind of compounds over time and it will give you a good return if you put in the work early on. Okay, next question. How do you balance your job with content creation? Honestly, sometimes it's tough, especially when work gets more demanding. I need to always set clear priorities for myself, and then I need to respect them and I need to stick to them, even when it gets hard. My job obviously comes first and it's my main priority, and then it's content creation. But when there are times when my job gets more demanding and intense and I need to dedicate more time than usual to it, even though I know that I'm doing what's in line with my priorities, I still feel bad because I feel like I'm letting my audience down and I feel like I'm letting myself down as well. My brand, so to speak, CS Jackie, means a lot to me because I have had so much amazing feedback from you guys that in some way I have helped you or inspired you or motivated you to make a good change in your life, and I find that extremely fulfilling. It is without a doubt the most fulfilling work that I do, and I don't take that lightly. I really value and appreciate my audience and my YouTube channel, you guys, and I don't want to take it for granted at any moment in time. I know that we need to dedicate a lot to content creation and to make your audience happy, to make you guys happy, and I feel like I don't always have the time to do that. Even though my job comes first, and logically I know that and I understand that, like the rational side of me, the emotional side of me is sad because I can't dedicate as much time to content creation as I would like. Something important that I have learned when it comes to balancing my job and content creation is that I should be delegating more. We can outsource stuff and we can ask for help and we can hire people to help us, and sometimes we forget about that, at least I do. I always have this tendency to want to do everything myself, and that is not always a positive thing. I actually hired a freelancer on Fiverr to do a personal website for me. So far, I'm really enjoying the process and it's actually much easier than I expected. Fiverr is a platform full of talented freelancers that you can hire. It's like having an entire creative team at your fingertips. From web development to design to marketing to video editing, whatever it is you're looking for, you will find a talented professional at Fiverr to help you out. You can pick the talent that you want to reach out to and that you want to work with, and these people are really experts in their field. It's really amazing. I got to explore a lot of portfolios and reviews before I made my decision on who I wanted to hire to develop my website. The platform was super easy to navigate, and the freelancer that I ended up working with was super responsive and extremely professional. I worked with the freelancer by providing a direction for the website. I specified a minimalistic dark theme design, and it was inspired by other websites that I had seen. I wanted it to be focused on my YouTube videos and my career as a software engineer. I outlined key sections and features I wanted, such as my social media stats, while also discussing the budget and how I would maintain the website long term. I can't wait to show you guys my website once it is ready. And until then, if you guys are interested in developing a project and you need some help, you can hire someone on Fiverr and use my discount code CSJackie for 10% off. Thank you so much to Fiverr for sponsoring this portion of the video. And now let's go on to the next question. Someone asked, does a master's degree really matter in jobs like Amazon? It depends. It depends on the area you work in. I am probably the only one in my team, or one of the few in my team, that has a master's degree, so I wouldn't say that it matters that much. But we are a software engineering team and a software engineering org. I think that if you work in a data science team, the answer is different. I think that in data science, AI, machine learning, like all of these areas which are a bit more scientific, a master's degree is usually, like, it gives you an edge. I'm not sure if it is a must, but it definitely is something which is appreciated by the headhunter. Thoughts on job hopping versus staying at the company? Is there guidance for how long you stay? I think that you can be successful either way as long as the company you work at values you and pays you accordingly. There are people who become wealthy simply by staying at big tech companies for decades because they receive a lot of stock and the stock appreciates if you're lucky. There are other people who say that every 2 years you should be changing jobs because your market value increases and therefore you should be aiming for that. I think it depends on your personal circumstances. If you're raising children or you're taking care of your parents or if you struggle with your mental health and anxiety, interviewing is a very intense, very stressful period of time. So, I don't think it is realistic for you to expect yourself to find a new job every 2 years if you're under those circumstances. Certain things like stability and peace of mind are more valuable to certain people than the 20 or 30% increase which you would get from job hopping. I don't think we need to be hustling 24/7 for a pay rise, but obviously this is a personal decision. Another question was why the switch from aerospace to software engineering? I made a whole video about this. I will leave it linked here in the screen if you want to check it out. How do I create a 4-month study plan to crack a big tech interview was the next question. So this is difficult to answer in a Q&A, but I included it here in this video because I want to say that I'm going to do a whole video about this because I think it's a really good question. So stay tuned for that. How do you keep up with all the new AI tools? How do you keep up with new tech? Do you use AI tools? I mean, honestly, the short answer about keeping up with new tech is mostly you don't. It's really difficult to keep up with all of the new technology and all of the new models that come out. In my opinion, I don't think you need to learn all of that stuff to be successful. There's a certain baseline of tools and technologies which maybe every software engineer should know. But beyond that, I only learn new technology if I actually need to use it for a project. I don't learn it just for the sake of it. I also see a lot of people doing AI, learning AI stuff, and that is absolutely fine, and I've done that too. Like, it's good to learn a little bit about it. It's good to have an introduction into it so you know what people are talking about. But honestly, people who work on cutting-edge AI, they have master's degrees and PhDs and postdocs, and they are working in research. It's not that an online course will make you an AI engineer. Like, this is the type of field that requires a lot of years of dedication and a lot of studying. How to find a job in the UK? Is it still worth it to move to the UK? I have like a love-hate relationship with London, to be honest. I think it's worth it if you find a high-paying job that you like. Anything less than that, I don't think it's worth it. There are a lot of layoffs going on still, and the funding, from what I've heard, for startups is considerably lower in Europe than it is compared to the US. And in addition to that, with the high interest rates, funding is even more scarce and rare. So I'm not sure if I would personally relocate for a small startup or for a mid-sized company. Oh my god, sorry, there's a plane flying over. Okay, it's kind of gone. I think that relocating, for example, for a startup in this climate is a bit more risky. And it's a personal decision. It depends obviously on what you're giving up on. But I personally wouldn't relocate, especially not to a country like the UK where the weather is horrible and the cost of living is very high, unless it was really for a job that pays well and that I really want to do. And obviously that has stability. If you hadn't done engineering, which other fields would you have been in? I guess aerospace engineering, but in another life, I think I would have enjoyed being a dermatologist. If you could go back in time, would you still study mechanical engineering or software engineering or electrical engineering? So I don't regret my path. I really enjoyed my university experience. I loved studying mechanical engineering. It's a super interesting field. But knowing what I know now, maybe I would have studied computer science and I would have done a master's and maybe a PhD in some field of machine learning. AI tools facilitated software as a service development. Could that, plus your experience, result in SaaS founder Jackie someday? This is an oddly specific question, but I thought it was a cute question. Quite honestly, I don't think I have what it takes to be a proper tech company founder. Creating a serious, real tech company is a lot of work, and I'm not sure if I'm cut out for that. I think I'm cut out more for small indie projects that I can do alone, and alongside that, doing something like YouTube or content creation in general. Next question is, I'm planning to start a career as a C++ developer. Is it a good idea or should I look for another path? I think that C++ developers are really badass. And if you're really good, you can make so much money working in hedge funds as a C++ developer. Like, it's actually insane. I've heard some numbers. So I think it's a really good path and good luck. Okay, the next category of questions are about mindset and productivity, and they also dabble into content creation. So the first question of this category is, how did you start your social media journey? I started creating content on Instagram in 2021 during the pandemic, and I started my YouTube channel in 2023. I started creating content because I was still learning how to code, and I was sharing all of my study resources, I was sharing my journey, and I was sharing kind of bits of my life, like vlogging parts of my life as well. And I started growing on Instagram and gaining a following. At the time, I was working at Rolls-Royce as an aerospace engineer, and then I studied for interviews and I got this offer to join a big tech company and to relocate to London. So I did that and I documented that on Instagram as well. So yeah, I've been doing this since 2021, but YouTube only since 2023. How to stay consistent and away from distraction while learning when results don't show themselves for long. I think it boils down to believing in yourself. I know that it can be very hard and very frustrating. When I was looking for my first job, I basically looked for 9 months until I got my first offer, and it was nerve-wracking. So I totally understand the feeling, and you just need to keep going and not give up and believe in yourself and in your value. And I know that that sounds cliche, but that's really how it works. Sometimes a door closing means that a better one is meant for you and is going to open up very soon. Having learned how to code by myself at home, I'm also familiar with the feeling of frustration. I think you need to ask yourself if you really want this. Because if you do, there are certain sacrifices and certain bad feelings that come with it, but you go through it and you tolerate it because you like what you do, and that is very important. When you enjoy what you do, you feel fulfilled, and sometimes you feel that you're having fun, even if no one is there to recognize it and to applaud you for your work. Another question I got was some ways in which you take care of your mental health, ? I read. I read mostly fiction. I love reading. I always have since I was a child, and it provides me with the right level of escapism, and it distracts me from my own anxiety and my own toxic thoughts at times. So it's something that has really helped me with my mental health. Okay, the next category of questions is finance. All of the financial and compensation related questions. And the first one is, how do you manage your finances? So first of all, I track my net worth on a spreadsheet and I update it every month. I get paid a base salary on a monthly basis, and once I get paid, I have a few automated bank transfers which move money around. I put a percentage of my net income into a high yield savings account, and another percentage of my net income gets invested into an ISA. So basically it's a tax advantage account where you can invest money into the stock market without having to pay any capital gains on the gains that you make within this account. The caveat is that it's limited to £20,000 a year. So a percentage of my income goes towards this account where I invested into ETFs, and then the rest of my money is used to pay my rent and my bills and food, clothing, vacations, all of that. I would say that I save roughly half of my net base pay every month. So half of it goes into the ISA and into my savings account, and the other half I spend on utilities, rents, and all of that. Since I work in tech, a few times a year I get stock grants and I receive stock. I either keep that stock as it is invested, or I will sell that stock within obviously the trading window, and I will put that money from the shares that I sold into my private pension. In the UK, you can put up to £60,000 into your pension every tax year. This is quite useful because it reduces your taxable income. So if you're within a certain tax bracket and you want to reduce the amount of tax that you have to pay and put yourself in a lower bracket, then you can pay into your pension. So I have done that, and usually I sell my stock and I just pay it into my private pension because it has these tax advantages. Obviously, none of this is any kind of financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is just what I do for me personally. Do your own research and do what is right for your personal situation. Next question is, can you give a percentage structure of your monthly finances? So I think my previous answer already covers this, but just to summarize, I spent half of my base salary and I saved the other half. I put it into an ISA and I also saved some cash into a high yield savings account. And then the stock that I receive, I either sell it and I put it into my private pension. Otherwise, I keep the stock and then I have it just invested as normal shares. So another question I got was my salary. For obvious reasons, I'm not going to answer this, but I do understand why people are curious. I would say that you can check levels.fyi, where you can look for compensation examples, like people submit anonymous total comp packages. And if you filter by location and by company and by level, like I think you can get a pretty good idea. Okay, so that's it about the finance related questions. Now I have a few personal questions that I received. I got 2 questions related to Portugal. One of them was, what's your connection to Portugal? And the other one, why didn't you stay in Portugal to work? I'm actually Portuguese. I was born in Germany, but I grew up in Portugal. I moved to Portugal when I was 4 years old. I did all of my school and my university in Portugal, so it is my home country, it is my homeland. Eu falo português, obviamente. And the reason I left Portugal, even though it's a country that I love and it's a very beautiful country, is mostly because of the economy and because of the work opportunities. You obviously get paid much better in countries like the UK, the US, or even Germany compared to what you do in Portugal, and that was the main reason behind it. In addition to that, you also get, for the most part, better work opportunities abroad, at least in the field of software and aerospace and mechanical engineering. You just kind of work on more exciting stuff, I would say. Sorry, the sun has come out and it's kind of blinding me. I hope the footage is not too bright. Portugal is my homeland. My parents live in Portugal and that's why I go there so often. It's mostly to visit my family. I have 2 sisters as well. My younger sister is studying in Portugal right now. She's actually studying at the same university that I studied at. And my older sister, she lives in Munich in Germany and she has a family there, and occasionally I will also travel to Munich to visit my niece and my sister. Someone asked me about my hobbies. My hobbies are reading, creating videos and content, and I used to really enjoy playing the piano, but I haven't done it since I moved out of Portugal because I don't have a keyboard here, but I would love to pick that up again one day. Someone asked what are the 3 things I want to achieve this year. First of all, I want to stress less. I would really love to reach 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, but I don't like to set these type of goals for myself because I feel like part of them are out of my control. In part it is within your control, but a small aspect of it is also luck and the algorithm, so I don't like to put things in my goals which are outside of my control, if that makes sense. But yeah, I would really love to reach 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, so make sure to please subscribe. I also have a financial goal. There's a certain amount of money that I want to save and invest. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Oh my god. So in 5 years, I will be in my 30s. Early 30s, but still like well into my 30s. And honestly, I would like to move outside of the city. I think I would like to leave London because it's a very hectic, very crowded, stressful city, and I just don't see myself living here long term. It is good for now and I'm happy with where I'm at, but I think that there will come a certain point in life where I want to slow down a bit. Someone asked me what are my thoughts on marriage and having kids. I think I would like to get married one day. I do value marriage and I see it as a serious, beautiful commitment. In terms of having kids, it's not something that I desire at the moment, but I think that potentially in the future it might be something that I want. However, only within certain circumstances. So things do need to work out and align in a certain way for me to want to take that step. I think that in order to have children, I will have to feel like I'm settled and I will need to feel financially very comfortable. I will need to be living somewhere where I know I will want to live long term. I will have to feel emotionally ready, and I don't want to feel like I am sacrificing things that I would have enjoyed doing for myself before having children. Obviously, there will always be sacrifice, but I think that it's important to give yourself a shot and to try to do the things that you wanted to do before entering that phase of your life. At least for me, that is very important. Obviously, I wanted to do my YouTube channel. I wanted to learn how to code. I wanted to work in big tech. These are examples of things that I was able to achieve, but there may be other things which I would still like to try. before I'm ready for that. This concludes the Q&A. These are all of the questions that I had picked out to answer. Thank you guys so much for the truly amazing questions, and if you have other questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'm happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!